Hello everyone, my name is Edward and today together with my group mates Marianna and Mane we are going to talk about misconceptions about vaccinations, how they cause vaccine hesitancy and why vaccine hesitancy is actually a global health problem. Before we get into the problem itself, let's just quickly remember some terminology. So vaccination is the administration of a vaccine to help immune system develop protection from a disease. So here we see that vaccines are actually very helpful and they can help our immune system battle against diseases. Vaccine hesitancy is refusal to be vaccinated or have one's children vaccinated even though there are opportunities and vaccination can be taken. Vaccine preventable disease in its turn is actually a disease that can be effectively fought against with a preventive vaccine. And the problem that we are going to discuss is actually the rising rate of vaccine hesitancy in Armenia. The issue here is that Armenia is falling behind European routine immunization plan, even though it has adopted it. However, by WHO estimates, Armenia is self-sufficient and it is funding enough to be able to support vaccination for most of its citizens and to cope up with the numbers. And the reason that we think this is happening is not because there is something that government doesn't do in terms of funding or something else. The reason here is that distrust towards immunization is present amongst the citizens of Armenia. So here we can actually see the European immunization plan, and the thing that we can quickly notice here is that Armenia is not meeting the vaccination coverage targets. And the DTP3 vaccination is specifically mentioned here, which is the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis third dosage. But besides that, we can actually see that Armenia is implementing evidence-based vaccination policies, and the country is estimated to be self-sufficient and to provide its citizens with necessary amount of immunization. Besides that, Armenia is also taking measures such as keeping in touch with parents and encouraging them to take their children to vaccination. And moreover, there are some schools where children are being vaccinated in place. But the problem is still there, and vaccine hesitancy rates are rising in Armenia. So here we can see actually some statistics. Here it is noted that DTP3, hepatitis B vaccination of the third doses, and HIV-3 vaccination are dropping. And in 2017, the rates were 94%, and in 2018, they are 92%. And the scenario is even worse with polio vaccination. It dropped by about 4% in the same amount of time. In the contrary, we can see that the number of occurrences of vaccine preventable diseases is rising, and here we can see that there were 19 cases of measles in 2018, and there were around 160 pertussis cases in Armenia in 2018, which these both numbers are higher than they were in 2017. So the risk now is actually low, but if this trend continues, Armenia can potentially come to a stage where vaccine preventable diseases that were eradicated, they may start spreading in some communities, and this is why it is actually really dangerous. There are some determinants that we think that cause the vaccine hesitancy in citizens of Armenia, and one thing is that there is wrong information circulating in mass media and internet. So the thing is that there are some reports in news in Armenia that parents actually fear that their children might be hurt with vaccines. So they don't take their children to take the vaccination. And another major concern is that healthcare providers actually fail to convey needed information to parents or caregivers about vaccination. There have been interviews with some professionals from our healthcare providing system, and this is the exact issue they noted, that the healthcare providers are not providing enough information to parents, and they fail to convince them to take their children to vaccination. And there is also a risk that the vaccine hesitancy comes from scientific papers which claim that vaccination can actually be harmful. And specifically, there was one case when in 1988 there was an article that claimed that vaccination was causing autism in children, and to this day there are some effects left from this article, and there were also reports in Armenian news that some parents actually fear that their children might catch autism if they take them to vaccinations. And this is why we think that in order to solve this problem, we need to specifically target these groups and convince them that vaccination is actually a good thing and they need to take this.
Okay, in this section, I will talk about prevention intervention strategies. I will discuss what kind of strategies are practiced worldwide, how are they practiced, and how they affect their target. The first strategy that I want to talk about is called I Immunize. Its aim is to advocate vaccination to a community with alternative lifestyles and alter community discourse against vaccination. It was practiced in Australia in 2014. It was a community-based campaign, and its administrators are Immunization Alliance of Western Australia. So let's talk about in more details. The campaign promotes vaccination by appealing to local values and alternative lifestyle. Community members with alternative lifestyle who took part in the campaign wrote a 300-word testimonial about why they vaccinate and how it is part of their alternative lifestyle. These testimonials were published on their website with their pictures, and posters were also created, which is the most important part of the campaign. As you can see in the picture, these are the posters. The posters contain the picture, the name, the age, number of children, two other core lifestyle attributes, their picture, and the words I immunize. Those posters could be seen on billboards, public buildings, healthcare facilities. Also, they were also featured in newspapers and published on Facebook. So later evaluation was conducted, and it revealed that 59.2% of the individuals who involved in the study felt the campaign had a positive impact, 16.8% of the people felt negative impact, and 24% had felt no impact at all. And vaccine-hesitant participants reported more negative thoughts than non-hesitant individuals. Now, the second strategy aims to measure parents' attitudes towards vaccination, alter such attitudes by drawing attention to the consequences of not vaccinating their children. It was conducted in the United States. It was conducted online. It targeted parents and general public. And it was dialogue based, so it had a specific structure. So let's talk about it in more details. The pre-test of attitudes toward the vaccines is the first level. During this pre-test, a 5-item vaccine attitude scale was developed to measure people's general attitude towards vaccines. The second level is exposure to information about consequences of not vaccinating. So respondents were invited for the second phase, in which they were randomly assigned to read information that contained information about disease risk, autism correction, and control interventions. And the last third level is the post-test of attitudes towards vaccines. So in this last level, participants were asked questions about their past vaccine behaviors and their intentions to vaccine their child in the future. This was done to understand the difference of the attitudes. The authors created a vaccination attitude change score, which was computed as the difference between participants' post-test and pre-test vaccination attitude scores. So later, when evaluation was conducted, it showed that the information about disease risk led to larger changes in the attitude, but the autism correction had no great impact on people's attitude than the control condition. Presenting participants were evidence that there is no link of autism between vaccinations, and autism did not meaningfully alter neither positively nor negatively people's existing attitudes about vaccination. The third strategy is individual level, and its aim is educational. It aims to decrease mothers' concerns about vaccination by giving them information about the risks in different formats. It was also conducted in the United States. It was conducted online, and in this case, the main target were mothers. And the vaccination type is HPV. So during this intervention strategy, mothers were asked two rhetorical questions. The first one is, as you can see, do you want to protect your child from cancer? And the second question is, if there was a vaccine to protect your daughter from cancer, would you have her get it? So these questions were asked to provoke high level of agreement and ensure mothers' commitment to general principles. Then mothers are either provided with textual information developed by CDC, which is the US Center for Disease Control. It was about various risks. It was based on statistical information about cervical cancer, HPV, and the HPV vaccine. Or they were provided with numerical information on the risks of cervical cancer and HPV vaccination. Moreover, the numerical information was complemented by graphics to facilitate visualization of girls who could get cervical cancer and with and without vaccination. When the evaluation was conducted, it showed that mothers who viewed the graphical representation of HPV vaccination risks and benefits of vaccination had significantly stronger intentions to vaccinate their daughters. The use of rhetorical questions also had a significant positive impact on mothers, and they wanted, after the questions, they also wanted to vaccinate their children. However, one interesting fact was found that each intervention was found to be stronger in absence of the others. So that's it for the third intervention strategy. And now let's look at our last intervention strategy, which is more interactive, and it is a social media tool. Its aim is use a theory-driven social media intervention tool to reduce parental concerns about childhood vaccination. And again, it was conducted in the United States. It was conducted online, and it targeted parents, both mothers and fathers. And this was based on childhood vaccines. It was about childhood vaccines. And now let's talk about it in more detail. During this intervention, an online tool was provided, which provided evidence-based information and a platform for parents to discuss their concerns with other parents. about or with experts. This intervention is based on a multi-directional communication model, which means that um, both the developers and the users could create information and share that. Parents become active participants in the communication process, which establishes trust and credibility in open and empathetic conversation tone. The tool consists of a blog where you could post text, multimedia, photos, videos, and audio, a discussion forum, a chat room where you could schedule meetings in advance, a newsletter, a portal for parents to ask questions to experts, and that's it. The tool was regularly updated with quick responses to the questions from experts in vaccination and researchers. Parents and were treated like experts, and they were very respected. And Also, one important thing that is monitored. It was monitored on daily basis to identify and filter abuse like language, bullying, and disclosure of personal identifying health information, and etc. So when the evaluation was conducted, it showed that the intervention was first piloted among parents who accepted, delayed, or refused vaccination to their children. Um, and parents reported that they would use the platform to ask questions and find vaccine information, but also to review vaccination schedules and discuss their experiences and concerns. They asked, but in the end, parents who participate in this intervention strategy ask for more balanced information, transparency, moderation, and diversity in the content provided. That's it for my part. Now Mana will continue.
So now I will talk about the implementation and evaluation of interventions. We all know that nowadays one of the most effective ways to reach out to people is through media, like TV or social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or even YouTube. First of all, we want to make a video advertising. Through the video, we should reach out to people, and the video should answer uh, the most given questions and break the stereotypes and myths that people have. For example, natural infection is better than vaccine. Vaccines can harm the immune system. Vaccines can cause autism. Most of the vaccines preventable diseases don't exist anymore, and vaccines are given at too young of an age, and etc. There are a lot of myths, so we want to break them through the video. The video should also include effective messages that will stick in people's minds. For example, people's personal beliefs cannot be more powerful than science, or you are willing to protect your children, yourself, and your community from life-threatening diseases, or immunizing can even prevent some types of cancer. These kind of messages will make parents think twice before making a decision for their children and for their children's health. Another way to reach out to people is printing posters and put them on the billboards of the city, because when we drive or when we walk, we always see the big billboards and we pay attention to them. So we think that it is also an effective way to make people pay attention to them. We want to include like touching pictures of mother and the child, which might evoke certain emotions in parents. And also on the pictures, there could be like bold, large words and with messages to break the myths or to talk about the vaccination. For example, there can be messages like be wise, immunize, or trust the healthcare providers and immunize, don't hesitate. And we think that it will be good if we put the website link or website name under these messages so that people can enter it and read information about vaccination or about all the myths and stereotypes. And also we think that it would be good if we put like a question like, are vaccinated children healthier? Because if parents hesitate and they don't know enough about vaccination, or they think that vaccination is bad, they may be more interested in this question, and they maybe like will start thinking and entering the website to know more about the vaccination. And the other way is giving parents leaflets when they go to polyclinics with their children. Leaflets should include all the misconceptions and the answers and explanations to them. It should include benefits of vaccination, consequences of not being vaccinated, and etc. We think that if we talk about this problem over and over again, we promote the video ads everywhere possible. When the video with the messages can reach lots of people, and people getting information from different sources like leaflets, billboards, video ads, being reminded by the nurses about the vaccination and the importance of it, parents will start to expand their knowledge about immunization and get rid of their unhealthy skepticism. And maybe they will try to search on Google about the misconceptions of vaccination and get information, just because they start to get more curious about this topic, because their children's health in some part depends on the vaccination. So thank you everyone for watching and listening to us. If you have any questions,